Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your WWE TLC and S 2014 preview and predictions.
Guys, normally I come up here, I'm high energy, I'm like, oh yeah, we're together, preview predictions, DLC. I gotta be honest, it's not that I'm completely frowning on the show, and I can't wait to get into the discussions. That honestly is one of the best parts leading into the pay per view for me, but I am still coming off that afterglow of NXT R Evolution. My God, this show has a lot to live up to tomorrow night.
Well, and I did read on Reddit that reportedly the main roster locker room is really fired up because of how incredible that show was. They don't want to be shown up by developmental.
And they shouldn't want to be shown up, and I hope that they show up tomorrow night and they deliver one hell of a show. Because here's the thing: traditionally, at least in my opinion, Ashton, TLC has been a great show.
Yeah.
I think it has a great track record. This is the first time I'm really a little nervous for that track record, but I believe in the roster. I've said multiple times that I think we have one of the best rosters, in a while. We are stacked, and that's not even counting NXT when I say this. You bring that in there, and it's just game over. But it just the creative direction, everything extraneous to these guys, really seems to be kind of a problem. And I'm hoping that that doesn't prove itself, to be true yet again at TLC. But I'm looking forward to going down this card with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think we have an advertised kickoff match, do we?
I don't believe we do, Ashton.
But what we do have is a tables match, a ladder match with the title on the line, a chairs match, and a steel stairs match, plus a few other championship matches. And to cap it all off, we have a TLC match. So we got a little bit of everything in there. The only thing that we don't have a TLCS match that also includes stairs on top of the TLC.
Yeah.
So tell you what, John, let's start with the match that matters least on this card. There are two that really don't matter, but the one that I think you and I care the least about is Ryback versus Kane in the chairs match.
Yeah, Ashton, I really, we were talking about Ryback, you and I, a little while ago, and I've loved your sentiments throughout this entire thing because it goes back to my core philosophy in the earliest days of TwitWow. You are what you're booked. If people don't seem like they're caring about Ryback, you said it best. Look at who he's working with. Nobody in 2014 cares about Kane. You and I don't care about this match. I say Ryback for the win via pinfall after the shell shock. And please, I don't care if it's Rusev. I don't care who you put him with. Just put him with somebody with even a modicum of relevance compared to Kane. Just get Ryback back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this: I think that the shell shocked in question is going to be on a steel chair, just
Yeah,
to kind of put the match stipulation to use.
right.
So that's also my prediction.
All right, excellent. So we agree on that. Nothing more to say, I guess, if you want to move on.
All right, up next is our steel stairs match, the Eric Rowan versus Big Show match, and I was kind of waffling on this one a little bit because, like, if they want to put these guys in a program, I could see Big Show taking the first match and then Rowan getting two in a row. But I really don't think that this is going to be a long-lasting program. Plus, after this show, we're going to be building up to Royal Rumble, and I think they probably want to make Eric Rowan look strong to go into that. So I think Rowan's going to win this one.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you as well. I mean, just to talk, I guess, about this a little bit more, I love that things have been working out with Eric Rowan far beyond my wildest dreams for him. The crowd really seems to be receptive to him right now. Say what you will about Big Show, but I think he does really well in that heel role, and I especially like the idea that, oh, I made a mistake and you guys are too hard on me, and well, screw you guys. So it's a nice turn, and of course, Eric Rowan. We've just dissected that to death, particularly you, Ashton, on past episodes of TwitWow, which you guys can check out. Having the childlike brain, but also having this really high IQ, and it's weird the identity they're piecing together
I think
for
we should
Eric
just
Rowan.
kind of consider Eric Rowan to be like a well-functioning or a high-functioning autistic,
Yeah,
or like somebody with like Asperger's or something like that, because
yeah,
that's everything that they described fits under that category. I think Asperger's is probably the most likely suspect in this
right.
case, but I think that's really kind of what it is. It's like he has the social disorder, but it doesn't really affect his intelligence, and it's again, it all comes back to freaking Rain Man. Rain Man was autistic, or he had Asperger's or something like that, and it made him really just awkward in social situations, but it's the friggin' I don't even remember who it was. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise's character dropped the friggin' toothpicks on the ground, and Dustin Hoffman's character immediately just counted them without even needing to pick any of them up and said, "This is how many there are." Like, just ridiculous mental abilities.
Absolutely. With that said, I completely agree with everything you said about this match, but I think bigger things lie ahead for Eric Rowan. I'll get a little bit more into that later when we go down this card, but for now, yeah, Eric Rowan gets the win over the Big Show.
Oh man, that Rain Man reference. I can't help but go back to Bob's Burgers when they spill the toothpicks on the floor. And they're like, "How many are there, Tina?" And she's like, 7. No, it's 3. How many are there now? 4. No, it's still 3. What are you doing?
Oh, man.
Oh, I love that show. But anyway, since you and I, do we both agree that Rowan's winning this?
Yeah, so far no
Okay.
disagreements between us.
So before we move on to the next match, I do want to say I fully expect a display of strength spot here. Maybe something where like the Big Show lays the steel steps on top of Rowan as like a pinning combination, and Rowan still manages to either like push the steel steps up and maybe into Big Show's face to power out or something like that, so that he kind of shows that like he can match strength with the Big Show, something like that.
Yeah, that would be an awesome spot to really demonstrate just the power that Eric Rowan possesses, so I
As
agree.
if lifting up steel stairs effortlessly wasn't enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, because freaking, I love it because John Cena sells it like they weigh 150 freaking tons, and then Rowan just kind of lifts him up, and he's like, "All right, this is gonna be my new battering ram."
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, well, since those two matches are the only matches on this show that don't involve a championship, John Cena, or the full-on TLC, I think we can stop talking about them and move on to the slightly more interesting ones. I think the least interesting match left is Rusev versus Swagger, because there is absolutely no chance in hell that Swagger's going to win this.
Yeah, there really isn't, guys. I'm a little miffed that they're doing this story again, and that's really more a compliment to Rusev than my own dissatisfaction because really to me, we just came off the Slammies and stuff like that. We talk about breakout stars of the year. I feel like Rusev had one hell of a year this year. Really impressed me.
You know what though, dude? Here's the thing. I know that a lot of people would say Dean Ambrose was the breakout star of the year. I felt like he broke out before this year, so I don't think that
Yeah,
that's fair, because I think that takes away from Rusev, who only just didn't he just show up this year? Like he just showed up the night after, or he debuted at the Rumble this year, but he didn't stick around after the Rumble, and then he showed up again after WrestleMania, right? That's how it worked.
yeah, I believe that's correct.
Yeah. So Rusev was really the breakout star of the year, where Ambrose was just the freaking star of the year. He was the only top star who actually made it throughout the entire year. Like you could say Daniel Bryan, but he's missed the last however many months. You could
Yeah.
say Brock Lesnar, but he only shows up once every few months. You could say, it is Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins are the workhorses of this company.
And you know what, Ashton? I will say I'm really glad you agree with me about Rusev having a great year because he's really impressed me. When it comes to guys like Rusev, I always worry about him a little bit. And that's my fault. That's entirely my fault because I think I come in with these certain prejudices, like, oh, look at this big guy, he's only going to be able to do so much, and it's just going to be this way. But Rusev destroyed all of my preconceived notions of how he would turn out and has really come into his own. Everybody pretty much says that even though he gets booed and he gets so much heat and he should definitely be considered one of the top heels, I think, on the roster right now, he's booked like a babyface more or less because even when Swagger, like the biggest build up to this feud thus far was when Swagger got the jump on Rusev and he got the ankle lock on him on the outside, Rusev didn't tap out. I mean, he powered through it like he has in the past, when they feuded before. I love his grit. I love his power. To me, and I've been saying this for a while, my end game, Rusev, Ryback, U.S. title, WrestleMania 31.
See, I don't see that as an end game. I see that as a big blow off, but I think it's pretty obvious at this point that Rusev's end game is John Cena.
Yeah, and I do agree. I do agree. I think I would prefer, at least right now. The build may blow me away, and I'd be like, oh my God, I can't wait for Cena Rusev. But, I just really want to see Ryback and Rusev clash at some point. But regardless, Rusev does deserve better than this, I think, is my ultimate point. Where the heck is Sheamus? Because I could at least tolerate one more match between these two, seeing as how Sheamus was screwed out of his championship rematch, so it makes sense for him to be in this position. Swagger just seems like a placeholder. So yeah, I'm not really digging this, but Rusev with the win after the accolade. I'll even say
Absolutely.
yeah. Swagger passes out. I'll even be really specific.
No, do you really think they're going to go that far of repetition? Like, that's the exact same thing that happened at SummerSlam.
Dude, with these guys, I don't know. I don't know.
I
They
mean, we've
might.
already gone as far as to have Swagger injure Rusev's ankle going into the show, the exact same as SummerSlam. Do you just want to go all the way and have Jack Swagger
Yeah,
pass out again?
yeah, really. Yeah, we might as well, man.
I'm gonna take it a step further and just say Swagger taps out.
Okay, there you
Because
go.
they haven't built him up nearly as much this time. He doesn't have nearly as much momentum.
Right.
So I think that there's a stronger ability of him looking weaker.
That is true, but I think that's compensated by his emotional investment with Coulter being taken out. So I don't.
Whatever.
Yeah. So we both agree though that Rusev's retaining. So that's all that
Right.
matters.
All right. Up next we have. I don't know, John. Do you want to do Divas or tag titles next?
Let's oh God, they both. You know what? Let's do Divas because I at least
Okay.
like the tag team champions.
Nikki Bella versus AJ Lee, and this is another one. Like, I feel like a lot of these matches I waffled on a lot because I don't know how much the WWE has invested in their current champion, or in some cases, how the WWE plans on kind of making amends to stuff that gets thrown out of whack at this show. Kind of like that South Park, like rubber band effect where stuff can happen, but then it all kind of comes back into the status quo by the end of the episode.
Right.
But again, I don't know, like, does WWE want to keep the title on Nikki Bella for a while? Do they want to give her a long run? Do they maybe want AJ Lee to get the title back now since the whole Bella storyline is pretty much over? I kind of don't know. So I want your take on this, John. What's the hot take?
Okay, well, since you wanted my take, you beat me to the gun because I was going to ask you a question, but I'll save that for after. Here's my take, okay? Nikki Bella is retaining the championship.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to...
Oh, wait, does this have something to do with Naomi?
Yes,
it
does. Yeah,
it
does.
knew it. You think Naomi's going to be the one to take the title off Nikki?
Not necessarily take the title off her, but I think she's the next contender, especially now that she's no longer part of Total Divas. Yes, which put the biggest smile on my face because instantly the implications clicked.
Yep.
I'm glad that's what you thought of. It's weird how you can invade my mind like that. I don't know how I feel about that. But more importantly, I'm at least glad you went there because now I can pass the ball back to you with my question. Is this one of AJ Lee's last appearances?
No, it isn't. Stop. Oh, God.
Well, look. Before you just write it off like that, I will say that a lot of people found her slammy acceptance award speech to maybe be kind of hinting away that maybe she's wrapping up business. Talking.
You know what, though, dude? AJ Lee likes to work the internet almost as much as Chris Jericho at this point. Do you not remember the night that she came back and won the title from Paige? Everyone was shocked that she came back in the first place because they thought she was pregnant, and then she won the Divas title back and said that she got her baby back, and that's been kind of like her shtick the whole time. She loves to poke fun at the internet, and everyone's talking about, oh, AJ Lee's leaving the company, so now she's going to start dropping hints that she's leaving the company. It's not happening. She's not leaving.
All right, well, even so.
I am convinced that she actually enjoys this job, unlike her husband.
Even so, I am picking Nikki Bella to retain here.
I agree. Yeah. I'll tell you what. I will be cheering for AJ Lee to win, but just because I would rather pick the person that I'm more disappointed about winning and be wrong than pick the person that I want to win and be wrong, I would rather pick Nikki Bella and risk being wrong about that because I'd be happy to be wrong about that.
Exactly, and I get excited to come from. And again, I mean, you already called it out, so I know I don't need to explain to you. My primary reasoning is I do believe Naomi is next in line. She tagged a little bit with AJ going into this. I think she got a win over Brie Bella. I don't think she beat.
I think that they need to drag this out until Mania. Have Naomi win her first ever Divas Championship at Mania. And of course, because I said that, now she's going to end up winning the Divas Championship on a random Raw between Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber like what the Usos did with the tag titles last year.
Exactly. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think Naomi is primed to win that Divas Championship, and I can't wait.
Yeah.
So I'm going to suffer through Nikki Bella just a little bit longer. Nikki Bella with the win.
All right, up next, let's talk about the Tag Team Championship match, Miz and Damien Mizdow versus the Usos. LOL Usos win, but on that same note, I don't think the WWE wants to take the title off Miz and Mizdow yet. I think they're going to wait until Rumble.
It's a conflict because, and I'm hoping everybody saw SmackDown before I say this, but if not, I guess slight spoiler alert, I suppose. But we did get our first Ascension vignette, and I don't know how quickly they want to hotshot the Ascension of the title picture, because I think you and I, whenever we book them, it usually is pretty soon upon their arrival, if not their arrival in itself.
It is worth
Um,
noting that the Ascension are doing a very, very Road Warriors adjacent gimmick.
right,
They're basically freaking Demolition 2.0 at this point.
right.
And I think that kind of insinuates baby faces, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I'm glad we're having this discussion, dude, because I got that vibe too with with the chest guard, the shoulder pads, everything else, and then the paint. I'm like, wow, like you said, Road Warriors, Demolition, all those teams. And I'm thinking, are they going for that babyface vibe? And if so, Mizdow, I think, would have to retain here so that we have heels. And I've been saying all this time, oh, Usos are going to drop the tag titles to the Ascension. I mean, could it be all this time it was really going to be Miz and Mizdow?
Well, and I think that what it comes down to is you've got to have the Miz drop the titles to the Ascension. You have to have the Miz be the one to eat the pin, because then they can play it up, and not necessarily because of the fact that he ate the pin, but because they can play it up that he refused to tag in Mizdow because of his ego, because he didn't want Mizdow to get any attention. So he teased it too much and he didn't actually tag him in, and he ended up paying for it.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
would give Mizdow reason to turn on Miz, and that would give people reason to get invested because the Miz's ego got the best of him and all that crap. And the Ascension wins the titles, and hopefully, as far as I'm concerned, let him carry it for a year. I don't give a crap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and believe me, we'll get more into that discussion when it becomes more relevant.
Of course, knowing WWE, they drop it to the Usos then at WrestleMania, but whatever.
Uh, but speaking of the Usos, to kind of bring it back, I will give this feud this much credit, and I'm not saying it was a success or a failure. I mean, that goes from wrestling fan to wrestling fan. But I do like that I think they tried to give the Usos a little bit more of an emotional investment in this match, rather than just, oh, let's focus on two teams from a purely, athletic standpoint, from a pure ability standpoint. Let's have Miz, get involved with Naomi and,
You know
the
what,
Usos'
dude?
personal
I could
business.
see, I could see Jimmy Uso actually getting the Usos disqualified.
I could see that too, because we've seen that he has a temper.
Yep.
Wouldn't you imagine actual like personality progression here for one of the Usos? Yeah, he's a loose cannon. It seems like when it comes to his wife, Miz is being very emotionally manipulative. He has that edge, and
Jimmy Uso heel turn?
I don't think he'll turn, but I would go along with your line of reasoning that Miz and Mizdow escape by DQ. He lets his
Yeah.
emotions get the better, because they're going to want to protect the Usos.
Oh
You
God,
know that.
unfortunately, yeah, that's very true. And
Um,
and I think that might also help too, because that could lead to a multiple team match at Rumble that involves the Ascension.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe like a 4 corner tag team elimination match at Rumble. How great would that be?
That would be an incredible matchup. So
Could
along,
be Miz and Mizdow, the Usos, Gold Star, and the Ascension. I'd mark for that.
I'd mark for that as well. I think there are a lot of possibilities to come from
Although,
this matchup.
although Gold Star looks like they're headed towards a feud with a New Day.
That is true. That is true.
Tag team
So
gauntlet match include just 6 teams, tag team gauntlet match. Miz and Mizdow, Usos, Gold Star, Ascension, New Day, Cesaro, and Kid. Go.
perfect. Perfect. With that said, I love your way of thinking about this, Ashton. So I'm personally going to say Miz and Mizdow win after DQ caused by Jimmy Uso. That's going to be my prediction.
I agree. I actually, this is such an obscure prediction to make, but I genuinely think that that's what's going to happen too. So I agree. Let's sign off on that one and move on. How does that sound?
Sounds terrific, because now I think we're getting into the matches that I really wanted to discuss.
Well,
So I'm
yes,
excited.
we have 3 matches left. We have our championship ladder match, a tables match involving John Cena, and the only TLC, the actual TLC match of the night. So I'm going to throw it out to you, John. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's you know what? Let's go in that order. I like your order. Let's do ladder match, tables match, and then TLC match.
Okay, ladder match. Dolph Ziggler, Luke Harper, Intercontinental Championship. This is another one I really waffled on, because I don't know if the WWE wants to continue putting Ziggler through the torment, or if they want to kind of do a little bit of a blow off here and have Ziggler go into WrestleMania season as the champion.
Here's my it's such a conflict, right? I get what you're saying about the waffling on all these matches, because honestly, this is one of the matches where I did it the most. In fact, I think it was the match where I did it the most.
Right.
First of all, let me just say this. This match, I think, has the potential to be the match of the night on this card if given proper time and everything else. I think these guys can go out there and have a ladder match that is going to blow both of our minds and everybody's minds that are listening. I just see that caliber of ability in both of these guys. That said, I have been loving the progression of Dolph Ziggler lately, and he had the performance of his life at Survivor Series.
You know what, though? Here's what really ticks me off. Dolph
Okay.
Ziggler had the performance of his life at Survivor Series. Exactly what you just said. What's he done since?
Yeah, and he has kind of cooled down a bit.
He had an amazing performance in a main event that involved John Cena, Triple H, and Sting. And now he's going after the Intercontinental Championship?
And you know what? Yeah, and you know what? Your confusion, your annoyed confusion at that is precisely why I'm picking Luke Harper to win here, because I feel like Dolph Ziggler is beyond the Intercontinental Championship. I know it may seem like he hasn't been booked that way.
Wait, he's beyond it, but you think he's going to lose it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see his WrestleMania plans involving the Intercontinental Championship. Now, please don't make the follow-up question, what do you see Dolph's WrestleMania plans being? Because I honestly don't know. I just don't see the Intercontinental Championship as a fixture in them.
Well, here's my thing, John. The WWE Championship is going to involve Brock Lesnar and most likely Roman Reigns.
Right.
It's a very distinct possibility that it could be Brock and Cena again, because I could very easily see, like, if Cena loses the tables match tonight, he enters and wins the Royal Rumble. You know, that's just how WWE tends to work. But regardless, Dolph Ziggler is not going to be in the WWE main event, the WWE Championship main event spot.
Oh, and I didn't have any designs of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to be involved in an Undertaker or a Sting match.
Right.
He's not going to be in a match with a quote-unquote top guy because Triple H is going against Sting. See, that's the only real top guy that I could see. So to me, it really comes down to, if Dolph Ziggler gets a spot on WrestleMania, it's either going to be for an undercard championship or against somebody like Seth Rollins.
Yeah. See, it's so conflicting to me, because I feel like his business with the Intercontinental Championship is over. And not to just, we've been looking at Ziggler. Let's look at Harper for a second. I mean, I feel like his reign is just now really starting to get wings. You know, I've been saying for a while now that I just feel like an Intercontinental Championship feud between Harper and Rowan is on the horizon. I'm sticking to my guns with that right now. So that's another reason why
I completely agree with you on that. And that I think that that's one of those things where I don't know if that really needs the Intercontinental Championship to be an interesting feud.
Yeah, I agree with you there too. Make no mistake about it. I don't think they need it, because I think their history as part of the Wyatt family is rich enough to sustain that feud.
Right, but again, though, that kind of comes back to, why does Harper need this match more than Ziggler?
And yeah. Now
I just can't help but feel like if Ziggler isn't a champion, he's the first guy that gets lost in the shuffle. It's like him and Cesaro, when they don't have championships. Cesaro's not even on this card. Can we just establish that first of all?
Oh my God, yeah.
Cesaro has not won a match since before, I believe it was Hell in a Cell, and he's not on this card. And again, it comes back to what I was saying. Ziggler and Cesaro are the first two guys that get completely forgotten about unless they hold titles.
Yeah, I mean, see, now I know we're waffling on this match so much.
Yeah.
I'm still going Luke Harper retain it, but it is hesitant, man, because you bring up some points.
Based on the fact that it is a ladder match and the fact that we are about to go into WrestleMania season. Oh God, those are conflicting though. The fact that we're going to, because here's my thing.
Right.
I think that the Intercontinental Champion is going to have a championship defense at the Royal Rumble. But then the question becomes, if they do have a championship defense at the Royal Rumble, will they also participate in the Royal Rumble? If the answer to that question is yes, I think Ziggler wins tonight. But I think that it all comes down to, the WWE wants more than anything to tease the absolute shit out of the fans that Dolph Ziggler might win the Rumble. I think the final four to the Rumble are going to be Ziggler and Ambrose and two guys that nobody wants to see win, like Reigns and Cena or something like that.
Dude, I'll tell you right now, me personally, I see the Final Four. It's funny that you say that, because I wouldn't have had Ziggler as my fourth man, but I see the Final Four exactly as you depicted it. But for me, it's all three members of the Shield and Dolph Ziggler. And I think it's going to come down to...
Well, you just said that you didn't think Ziggler would be in the Final Four.
Did I say that?
You said you wouldn't have him as your fourth man.
Oh no, wait, I don't remember saying that. But no, that
Well,
is.
who did you think you said about that?
I don't know. Well, I was going to say that pretty much. I agree with what I was trying to articulate, and I think Ziggler's going to have a great performance this year. What I probably really want to get across, I don't think Ziggler's winning. That is something I did want to say. Like, I know people were really jumping the gun in the wake of Survivor Series and saying Ziggler for Royal Rumble. Guys, as much as I would mark out for that, that's not happening. You need to disabuse yourselves of that right now, because believe me, it's not going to taste good.
You know what would be hilarious?
What's that?
If Seth Rollins won the Royal Rumble.
Dude, I would mark out for Seth winning. Dean, don't even get me started on that. That's a separate commentary. I need to stop myself right now.
No, but the only reason I say that is because he's already Money in the Bank, and then he's like, because I think literally what drew me to come to that conclusion, I was playing it out of my mind. We have Ziggler and the 3 Shield members in the ring. The Shield members Rollins gives like a pep talk to Reigns and Ambrose and tells them that it needs to be between the 3 of them, and they get rid of Ziggler as like a 3-on-1. And then while Reigns and Ambrose backs their turn, Rollins comes up behind him and throws him over.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started right now, because when we get to our Royal Rumble-based commentaries, I have a lot to say about the Shield.
But of course, that's going to happen, but he's only going to succeed at throwing Dean over, and Roman's going to catch him.
Yeah, of course, right?
And it's going to come down to Reigns and Rollins, and Reigns is going to win, of course.
Yeah, but
the thing that everybody wished would have happened last year, and the WWE is going to be a year late on it, and at this point, nobody wants to see it anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, again, I have a lot to say about the Shield. This isn't the time or the place right now. I can't wait to talk about that, though, when we get to our Royal Rumble relevant commentaries. That said, yeah, it's a conflict, because I could see Ziggler really Iron Manning it up in the Rumble and lasting long and all that stuff. And like,
he's gonna be this year's Iron Man, I think.
In fact, I could even see Ziggler coming in at the number 1 entry, to be honest.
I was gonna say like 3, somewhere around there.
Yeah, well, he's going to be a very early number. I think you and I could definitely agree on that.
I would say like one of the first 4 or 5 for sure.
Yeah, it's so ideal for him, to be in that situation.
Yeah. And then for the second year in a row, the 30th spot is going to get booed because it's going to be Reigns.
Yeah, you're right. But to bring the focus back, because we're already looking past TLC for the purpose of trying to figure out TLC, ironically enough.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what we do almost every pay-per-view is try and figure out what direction the guys would go if they win or lose. And to me, it really comes down to, I think that Dolph needs the Intercontinental title more than Harper, but I also feel like it's more likely that the WWE would keep it on Harper based on the fact that they want to really just torment Dolph Ziggler and all of his fans for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think they get a perverse pleasure out of it. So ultimately, I'm still sticking with my guns. I say Luke Harper retains.
And yeah, we talked me into it. Like you and I talking about it together talked me into. Yeah, I do agree. It's probably going to be Harper, and then he's probably going to defend against. I don't know if I want to say Rowan right away. I think Rowan might be his WrestleMania match.
Yeah, I agree with that. I instantly think those are Rowan's WrestleMania plans. I won't even make any bones about it. So.
All right. Well, we both agree that Harper's going to win. So up next, we will talk about our tables match. And the only reason that there is even a chance that this is not the main event of this show is because there is only one TLC match on this show, and this is not it.
Exactly. We have John Cena versus Seth Rollins in a table match. If John Cena loses, he will no longer be the number 1 contender to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So I'm going to start it off by passing a question to Ashton here. Is this another case of LOL Cena wins, or does that stipulation kind of confound things for you a little bit?
And I think, you know how you said that the Ziggler-Harper match was the one that you were kind of waffling on the most? This is that for me. Because the way that WWE works, they find ways to keep you interested and then book around the interesting stuff so that it stops being interesting. Like they will take this away from Cena and then book around it so that he gets it back anyway and nothing ever mattered in the first place.
You know what I would love? But no, that doesn't really work then, does it? Because I'm trying to, what I'm trying to figure a way around is just making Roman Reigns not the main event of this year's WrestleMania. That's what
what's really horrible though is I think you and I would both rather have John Cena main event WrestleMania than Roman Reigns right now.
Yeah, It's so sad, but so true at the same
And
time.
it's not because we dislike Roman Reigns. It's the exact contrary. It's because we like Roman Reigns. We just don't want him to fail. And we know that if the WWE shoves him down people's throats this much, this quickly, he is going to be worse than Cena in the sense that he gets booed by majorities of crowds. Like, if anything, it might be a good thing because it might end up leading to him actually turning heel since Cena's still around and he's the only guy that won't turn heel.
Yeah, like I just gotta say as a quick aside, it kind of boggles my mind, especially after watching NXT TakeOver Our Evolution and watching the Adrian Neville Sami Zayn storyline really play out and conclude, that main roster babyfaces are guys that just really always win and always overcome, it seems to me lately. Like, what good emotional sports film, or really any film for that matter, where you know that they're gonna do this kind of trope where the protagonist has to overcome everything, what resonance would that have if they won everything right out of the gate? I don't understand it. I just feel like these guys are so void of any legitimate struggle, and that's why I'm souring on Reigns getting in the main event, because as dominant as Brock Lesnar has been, first of all, they didn't do him any favors at Night of Champions. I'm sorry, I'm still a bit salty about that. I can't lie. And second of all, they're just grooming Roman Reigns for this.
You
Uh,
know what, John? I'm just doing a little bit of like kind of digging into past TLCs, and I think I just found kind of the perfect example to show that this match is going to main event over the actual TLC match.
ah,
2010, we had a fatal four-way TLC match for the World Heavyweight Championship between Edge, Kane, Rey Mysterio, and Alberto Del Rio. And that was the only TLC match on the card, but John Cena versus Wade Barrett in a chairs match main evented.
oh yeah, I remember that. Oh
And
crap.
Cena literally buried Barrett under like
Yeah,
17 chairs.
yeah. Okay, but it's so infuriating, right? Because I was so jazzed up about Lesnar being the champion. And it's not even Lesnar's fault. I know a lot of people go with Lesnar like, oh, he's not showing up, this and that. To me, and I don't mean to go on a rant against the fans here, like, I don't mean that, but I feel like people aren't attacking the right issue here. I don't think the issue to me has ever really been Lesnar. It's been the opponents they've given him. I didn't want to see him feud with Cena or the people that he's really worked with. I'm still waiting on Lesnar Orton, people. That's probably, I don't know if that's going to happen now or not. I just really haven't been excited about the defenses that he's had, or that he's set to have. I feel like it's been such a waste, but that's just me. I guarantee you there are probably fans that have loved his championship reign, which is wonderful, but I just haven't really gotten invested in it. And as far as this match goes, I would love for Seth Rollins, to make a statement and win this match, even with like a heavy assist from J&J Security. I mean, he's a heel; it's come to be expected. And
And
then
then you realize that it's John Cena, and his finisher move is literally designed to put people through tables at this point.
I mean, hell, we were already kind of talking about the Royal Rumble a little bit, so I'll make no bones about that. The only solace I take is that I think this WrestleMania season is going to belong to Seth Rollins, because
I
that
don't.
briefcase. And I do. I think he's going to close WrestleMania as the champion. I think
I
he's going to
well,
cash
I
in
mean
on
that's
Reigns.
I mean I agree with that, but that doesn't mean that the entire WrestleMania season is going to be his. I think the entire WrestleMania season is going to be all Roman Reigns all the time.
I think. See, this is why I always phrase things wrong. So I was what I meant by that was I think he's gonna have like one of the biggest impacts at Mania, because nobody's ever cashed in at a Mania. It'll
Right.
be in the main event. It's gonna go off the air with a heel. That's really what I think he's gonna get a lot of the buzz. He's gonna take a lot of it away from Roman Reigns. So I apologize for poor phrasing, but that's what I meant. I think he's really gonna plant his flag, so to speak, this season, and that's the only solace I take in the fact that I really believe Cena's winning this now. Me and Ashton, I think, have talked personally. I don't know if it ever made it to a Twitter or whatever. John Cena doesn't have the best record in tables matches, and I wonder if that's going to be a talking point at all. But honestly, in a weird way, what originally was a device to kind of convince me that Rollins is going to win now actually convinces me that he's going to lose, because watch Cena overcome that shoddy record when it really matters most, and gets the win over Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
So
I think the only reason that this won't be a 2-minute squash match is because the WWE wants to give Seth Rollins at least a little bit of credibility so that he
right.
doesn't look completely like a joke when he does cash in at Mania to win the title.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
But And you know what the really sad thing is, John?
What's that?
Realistically, I could see Seth cashing in on a freshly beaten down but new champion, newly crowned champion Roman Reigns, and still losing to him.
You know what? It's weird with Seth because I've said, and I certainly stand by that. I think he's more credible than past holders. But I would agree with you because I feel like there's a preference to the Roman Reignses, and I could see him overcoming the odds because it's WrestleMania and everybody's swept up in the emotion. So even if Seth was cashing in, I'll be honest, my heart would be set to explode because I think can Seth even pull it off? But that's kind of my WrestleMania design for Seth is the cash in. As you know, Ashton agrees with me, which I think is really awesome that we agree on how WrestleMania is just going to conclude. But this is a bump in the road, and this is a bump in the road that I don't think is going to be kind to the architect. Which is a shame because I'd love to see him win. I have been hating Cena's promos about how I know the future's hungry and everything, but you got to go through me. I'm the gatekeeper. It really irritates me. But Cena's going to win. We have to deal with that. And again, that briefcase is the only thing that's going to put a smile on my face when the show fades because I really believe Seth Rollins is going to plant his flag this year. So,
All right, but we do both agree that Cena's winning
yep.
naturally, and I mean, if for no other reason, because they need to keep him looking strong for the Lesnar match, which is going to happen whether Rollins wins, whether he loses it tonight or not, because he's going to end up getting it back.
Right, definitely.
So I definitely agree with you. I do think Rollins is going to get put through a table here. All right, main event. Well, it's not actually going to be the main event realistically, but our main event, I think, which I don't even know if I agree with that because I'm not really that super into this match, but I know you are. So TLC, Ambrose Wyatt. I think, to me, I think this is the most disappointing feud of the year.
You know what? The thing is, I wouldn't even really contend with you that much. Like I have thoroughly enjoyed it, but I think when people think about Ambrose Wyatt and they do their fantasy booking and this and that, and let's be honest, I mean fantasy booking rarely, if ever, conforms with reality. But you'd at least think that the real life version of this would have come close with how great these guys are. And I feel like they've had some moments of brilliance, some flashes of brilliance, but overall, like yeah, it's been a
You know
pretty.
what, John? If I'm being perfectly honest, even from a fantasy booking standpoint, this is not a feud that's going to work.
Right, and I
Like, I
think
don't
yeah,
care how creative you are. The only way for this feud to work is if one or both of these guys had completely different characters, and that's the worst thing you could do to either one of them right now.
oh yeah, because I love both their characters and I love what they're both about. I just feel like putting these guys on a collision course it may not have been the best move. That said, I think they can have a great in-ring matchup with all the tables, ladders, and chairs. I could see this really being a brutal matchup if the reports are true and the locker room is motivated after NXT or Evolution. I mean, Bray and Dean always struck me as one of the more naturally motivated guys in that locker room to begin with. So then they're really going to go out there with a point to prove, and I think they could really raise the bar. If this isn't the main event, which again, after Ashton's finding with 2010, it's a very strong possibility. But here is where it gets a little crazy because if you guys have noticed, Ashton and me seem to be in complete agreement about this pay per view thus far. And I think, can you and I agree that, first of all, that Bray Wyatt's going to win this thing? Because I'm just going to tell you right now that I think Bray Wyatt's winning. I don't know where you stand on that.
Oh, no. I think Ambrose would probably. I mean, I haven't given it any thought whatsoever, so you could probably convince me otherwise. But just
Uh,
in my head, just kind of thinking about it on the surface, I don't think it makes any sense at all for Bray Wyatt to win this.
and see, I really, I'm kind of amused that you said that, but I kind of wish that you didn't, because this is the point in the show, because we always need one of those points in the show, right, where John goes off in his little, JFK assassination conspiracy theorist little corner and just do this crazy stuff where everybody else face palms. And I've been thinking lately, and here's the theory I've got going into this. All right, you had Hell in a Cell. He costs Dean Ambrose the matchup. Has a hell.
Oh, you know what, dude? Before you even continue, I just realized something.
What's that?
If they're planning on doing Bray Wyatt versus Undertaker at WrestleMania, it makes perfect sense for him to have to go over here.
And you know what? Honestly, I wasn't even thinking about Bray versus Undertaker, but that is kind of the piece de resistance, I think, of what I was going for here. Because my thing was, He costs Ambrose Hell in a Cell with the hologram that he claimed in an interview wasn't him, but served a much grander purpose. His mission was then to save Dean Ambrose, and also that Abigail still thinks about him. Dean destroys the rocking chair, which, as we come to find out through Bray's exposition, used to belong to Abigail. That's why he cherishes it so much. It's almost like a form of idolatry to him, that chair. And long story short, guys, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm going to lose all my credibility here. I think we're going to get some kind of weird Abigail crap or something for this finish. I think Dean's going to close in on the victory, and whether it's lights out, some kind of mist, whatever, I feel like there's going to be some extraneous force that costs Dean Ambrose this matchup and gives Bray the win. I feel like Abigail, for whatever reason, and maybe it does kind of tie into the whole Undertaker thing, is going to have a greater presence now with the whole Bray Wyatt mythos going forward. So,
Can I ask you a question?
Of course, you can always ask me a question. So
who do you think Abigail will be?
I don't know, though. See, that's the worst part about... Look, I know my faults, okay? And I can come up with all this stuff except the finish. That's why I don't have a professional job in this venue, because it's like, wow, John, that's really interesting, but what's the conclusion? Yeah, oh, would you look at the time? So I don't know who Abigail would be. Like, I used to love our ideas when we talked about this in the past, and we'd say it would be like a heel AJ or something, but it's definitely not going to be her, I don't think. Nobody on NXT, I think, kind of clicks with me as like, oh yeah, she could fit. Except if they wanted to make Paige relevant again, but I would have a tough time buying that as well, as with how much they've watered her down. Yeah. So I really don't know. I mean, I gotta be honest with you, I can't lie.
It's almost ironic, because I think that if WWE kind of like I'm trying to think back to an example, but I can't think of any examples right now, but if the WWE wanted to kind of sign somebody out of the indies who would be able to kind of just have a physical dominating presence and be that Sister Abigail character, I think she's wrestling in TNA right now, Jessica Havoc.
Yeah, I've seen only one clip of Havoc in TNA, but I think she would be somewhat of a good fit for that role. And the weird thing, I mean, this match is going to be won by, I guess, pinfall or submission, because, I mean, nothing's going to be hanging above the ring. So they're just going to try and destroy each other until they can secure the victory. And I just don't know why. I think from Hell in a Cell, Bray saying that it serves a great purpose, the chair being destroyed, the exposition on the chair, Bray's whole fascination with Dean in general, I just feel like Abigail has gotten a bit more prevalence with Bray Wyatt's character, a bit more.
I think that your story sounds great if we ignore the massive hole that is who would fill that role.
Exactly, and I agree. Like,
you can't just ignore that question.
You can't. You certainly can't. But see, I feel like ultimately, I don't know. Maybe WWE has that figured out. Maybe it's not even somebody on any kind of roster. I don't know.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying, though. Like, WWE is WWE. They're not going to bring anybody in unless they already know how to work their style. So unless they're planning on using somebody in a non-wrestling role and just have them perform as like a manager type role, it would have to be somebody on the current roster, because they're not going to hire somebody fresh off the indies to come in and immediately just go straight to Raw.
Right. See, and that's the tough part, because I don't think we'll physically know who Abigail. I just
unless they've secretly been training, say a Trinidad or Scarlett Bordeaux when they come in as freaking rosebuds. Yeah, like I highly doubt that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll see physically Abigail again. I just feel like she's gonna just conjure up something, so they're gonna drag this out. But I don't know. I can't answer that question. It bothers me that I can't lie about it, but I'm also not going to backtrack with that assertion. I think we're going to see some outer kind of interference, in that realm, and Dean's going to be a little freaked out.
Do you think they're just going to use a hologram again?
See, part of me wants to say yes, but I don't think they want to abuse that, because they just did it in October for Hell in a Cell.
Do you really think the WWE has a problem with abusing something, John?
No. I don't. You know what? Just to move the conversation along, let me just, I guess, say yes, that they'll do the hologram again. I mean, Bray himself even said like he doesn't do anything without a purpose, and he said to keep your eye out and pay attention because it means something. So maybe we will see the hologram again. But yeah, something like that because Bray's not gonna beat Ambrose on his own merit, even with all those weapons involved. It's gonna take something a little bit extra. And yeah, I just see Bray getting away with the win here. And plus, you've even said, and honestly, subconsciously, I'm using that too. The number one rule of being a Dean Ambrose fan: never really expect him to win matches like this. So
Yeah,
I
that's
say,
true. Yeah, and on top of that, again, like kind of like the number one thing for me is if they're building up for Wyatt versus Undertaker, Wyatt can't be losing on his way there.
yeah, certainly not. And really, I feel like they've wanted in their own way, I guess, for Bray to really be stronger this time around. I don't know if maybe they regret the way they kind of booked him with Cena or whatever, how much steam the Wyatt family lost because they really were on a decline before they repackaged them with the vignettes and sent them on their separate ways. But Bray did win last month at Survivor Series by DQ. So you know that Bray really hasn't given up much yet in terms of wins and losses in this feud, and I think that's going to continue. So Bray with the win, of course, by pinfall because there are no disqualifications here after Abigail interferes somehow. So that's my
Yeah.
prediction.
All right. Well, I think that we both agree, and that's actually the last match that we have to discuss on here. So if you think any other matches are going to get added, we can talk about those. But other than that, man, I think that we're about done.
Yeah, I think we are about done because I can't think of any additional matches that'll be on this card. And holy crap, we went through an entire premium prediction, I think, without disagreeing on a single match on this card. We may have disagreed about how we get to the result, but the result just in general, I think you and I
You
were
know what it kind
completely
of comes down
unanimous.
to, though, John?
What's that?
The WWE has done such a poor job of building this show that I don't think that even if one of us would have been like, oh, I don't know for sure if I agree with that, I don't think either one of us cares enough to argue.
You know what? I think that's a thing too. Like you and I have had some impassioned discussions in the past, but I think they were for shows that at least, even if it was for those matches in question, we were
Yeah.
really excited about. I'm gonna level with you. The only match, oddly enough, I'm really looking forward to is Dolph Ziggler Luke Harper. Like that's my most anticipated match of the night, and then
And
Bray Wyatt
don't
beating
well, I completely agree. I think that's going to be match of the night, but don't sleep on Cena Rollins. That's going to be just ridiculous.
Yeah, you know what? I could see that too. I mean, those guys have shown they can really go at it, put a table in there, and yeah, it's gonna be something. So I feel like the main event bulk of this card, Cena Rollins TLC, that'll deliver in ring. Harper Ziggler will be great. The rest of this card, eh. But again, man, you said it best. I think they've done such a poor job building this up. With the way they've built this up, and I know it's been a running joke, I'm sure, on Reddit and other wrestling places, but you would feel like this pay-per-view was Survivor Series and not TLC NS, which is crazy. But I'm still coming off the glow of our evolution, and I just really hope that this show uh, measures up and steps up and delivers. So with that said, I've got nothing else to say, so you can close this out.
All right, guys, we will be back tomorrow night for live reactions, and hopefully, we can honestly say that the show at least tried to live up to the standards set by NXT on Thursday.
Absolutely. We'll see you there, guys. I am excited for live reactions. Let's hope it's a good one.
All right, see you then, guys.